Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list for 2.1 and I haven't done an upload in ages. I've been working my voice a lot since I've been getting a lot of comments on it, and hopefully this is a lot better. I've made a list of every single character in the game up until the 2.1 update, and I'm going to be ranking them in this tier list today. So if you guys enjoy, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed. Only like 9% of you guys, wait, that isn't the right way around, but 1% of you guys are subscribed basically, so make sure you do that, and let's get right into it. Okay guys, kicking off the tier list, we have Geo Traveller. I'm putting Geo Traveller in A tier. He's basically the heart of the all Geo team, and that's what makes it works because of the huge amounts of Geo constructs he produced to work really well with Zhongli. And yeah, he also is a good battery for Zhongli as well. His skill is very strong, and overall just a really strong support, so I'm going to be putting him in A tier for now. Okay, next up we have Albedo. I'm going to be putting Albedo next to him, also in A tier. I think Albedo is nothing really changed about him. He's a very strong character, basically Fischl but Geo, and can provide strong crystallization shields for your team, and has a decent ultimate as well. Okay, next up we have Amber. I'm going to be putting Amber in D tier. Nothing's really changed here. She's still the worst character in the game. Not much can be said about this, but yeah, in the D tier you go. Okay, next up we have Ayaka. I'm putting Ayaka in A+. I do think that she's not actually worthy of S tier. She was kind of inflated since the tier list when she first came out. She's kind of really popular, and I thought she should be S tier, but she's actually A+ tier now. She is still really strong. Her ultimate is very OP. However, I think just the characters that I'll get onto later in S tier outclass her in terms of raw DPS. Next up we have Barbra. I'm going to be putting Barbra in C tier. She's very good early game, but because she's a healer and because heals aren't as important, apart from some weird flaws in the Spiral Abyss, like Fuller 11 for example, the weird corrosion, literally created just to sell Kokomi. So yeah, I'm going to be putting her in C tier. Next up we have Beidou. I'm going to be putting Beidou in A tier. Not much has changed really, she's still very strong. I did actually make a video on her, so go check that out in the description down below. And yeah, she's actually decent and can provide really strong counter functions, and decent damage, and ultimate's also very strong. Next up we have Bennet. I'm putting Bennet in S tier. He's actually really strong still. Not much has changed. He has a very good ultimate that can provide a huge attack buff to your team, as well as strong heals. And it can also do decent damage on his own since he's pyro, good reactions. Also because he's pyro, he can do pyro resonance, gives you a whole party an extra 25% attack. Next up we have Chongyun. I'm going to be putting Chongyun in A tier. I have sort of changed my mind on Chongyun. I do think he's still not as optimal as someone like Xingqi if you're running like him with a pyro DPS. However, if you're running like a freeze comp for example, he can be very useful, can play high cryo very quickly and efficiently, also good for melt teams. And his ultimate does a decent amount of damage as well, I guess. Next up we have Diluc. I'm going to be putting Diluc in A+ tier. He's still the same as when I last played as him. His attacks are pretty normal. You can actually Dragon Strike with him now, which can output insane damage if you master it properly. And if you pair it with someone like Xingqi, your reaction damage is going to be huge. And Diluc's definitely going to be still carrying you through the abyss today. Next up we have Diona. I'm going to be putting Diona also in A+. They go sort of together, sort of wine industries sort of thing. And yeah, Diona, okay, I can't speak, but Diona, A+ tier for sure. Can provide your whole team with an insane shield, EM buff if you have C6, decent reaction potential because she's cryo. And yeah, very strong character in general, also heal issue as well, so very useful in terms of like the new abyss as well. So she's going to be going in A+ tier for now, very strong. I do recommend you build her if you have her. Next up we have Fischl. I'm going to be putting Fischl in A tier. I think she's one of the better Electro supports in the game. She's sort of been outclassed by Red and Low in terms of Electro application. However, she's still very strong. If you have a C6, then she basically can become a machine gun. And if you pair with someone like Childe, then you can enable her to do insane amounts of damage, especially if you spam that Electro Charge reaction. And just like Beidou, these two are very strong Electro supports. Okay, next up we have Ganyu. I'm going to be putting Ganyu in S tier. Very, very strong DPS character. Can output insane amounts of damage with her charge shots and her huge area effect ultimate. That can also be used for freeze comps as like a sort of cryo applier. And yeah, very good for the team as well. If you use her, then there's no reason why you can't beat all of the content in the game. Literally one of the better characters in the game, probably top 5 characters in the game right now. Okay, next up we have Hu Tao, the best pyro DPS in the game. Huge single target damage when you pair him with like Xingqi, huge reaction potential. Same with Ganyu, one of the best characters in the game, definitely top 5 for sure as well. Next up we have Diona, we're putting Gene in A+ tier. She has a huge Virulent Shred, she's Anemo. She has the best healing in the game, or near to the best healing in the game. And can also do decent damage herself. If you've seen Taunto, you know what I mean. You can hybrid damage and basically beat any content in the game just with this one character. So very, very strong character. However, not quite S tier. I think she's quite S tier, but very, very strong character. Okay, next up we have Kaeya. I'm going to put in Kaeya in A tier. Very underrated cryo support. Can provide really good reaction potential. His ultimate's really strong in terms of damage as well. And you can also run him as a DPS if you want. Okay, next up we have Keqing. I'm going to put in Keqing in A tier as well. Definitely one of the stronger Electro DPS characters in the game. Actually, we don't have many Electro DPS characters in the game. She's probably the second strongest other than Raiden. And yeah, very, very strong like early game. Oh, she just sort of fall off late game compared to other DPS characters. So you're putting her in A tier for that reason. But I do recommend if you have her, build her. Very fun in terms of like the teleportation features that she brings as well with her kit. Alright, Klee. I'm going to put in Klee in A tier. She's a very, very strong pyro DPS, and although she outputs slightly more damage than Diluc, I just think she's going to be in a lower tier just because she's very clunky and the mechanics are very, very hard to master. And even if you do have a Dragon Strike Diluc, I still think Klee might outdamage. So for that reason, I'm actually going to put in Klee in A+ tier. Because my argument sort of contradicts itself, because Diluc is in A+ tier because he Dragon Strikes. Klee is not in A tier because it's too hard, so I do put in Klee in A+ tier for that reason. She's very, very strong, although she is pretty clunky. Can output huge amounts of damage if you have like Xingqi, one of the better pyro damages in the game. And yeah, moving on to the next character, we have Lisa. Lisa's going to be going in B tier. I think she's actually really, really strong since she provides a defense shred, and she's a catalyst user, so you can use Thrilling Tales as well. She's very useful in terms of like support capabilities. However, just compared to other Electro characters, you can't really class her with someone like Raiden or Kujou Sara. So maybe putting her in B tier, definitely underrated for sure, and gets way better with constellations. So if you have constellations, then she's gonna be like A+ tier for sure. But for now, B tier. Not much has changed. Okay, next up we have the Anemo Traveller. I'm going to put in the Anemo Traveller in B tier as well. She's not really that great in terms of like if you compare her to other Anemo characters in the game, but she's an Anemo character, so that means she's automatically going to be decently strong just because she has a Virulent Shred, and swirl damage right now is broken, so if you just stack Elemental Mastery, you're going to do so much swirl damage. So decent in terms of like just raw damage. However, like car control is not that great, and she pushes enemies away from you, which is not what you want to be doing, so that's why she's going to be going in B tier. Next up we have Mona. I'm going to be putting Mona in A+ tier. She has a huge damage ultimate that also can provide sort of like a whole like damage amp for your team. She's Hydro, has decent like reaction potential for freeze comps and like vaporize comps as well if you want to run that, and also as a catalyst user, so can use Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. So yeah, overall really, really useful characters to have on your team. Definitely one of the better standard battle characters along with Jean. Alright, next up we have Ning. I don't really know like how to pronounce her full name, so I'm just going to be calling her Ning. I'm going to be putting Ning in A+ tier. Actually no, I'm going to be putting Ning in A tier. I think she's very like overlooked in terms of her huge amounts of like geo damage that she does. Her ult is very, very strong. She has really strong charge attacks as well, but just because she's a 4-star DPS, she doesn't really compete with the likes of Diluc or like Ayaka, so she's going to be going in A tier. Definitely the strongest 4-star DPS in the game though, if I had to rank them. And if you don't use her, then I highly suggest you do, and very, very fun playstyle as well. Alright, Noelle. I'm going to put Noelle in B tier. It's not that she's a bad character, it's just I think she requires so much investment that it's not really worth it to like recommend her to new players. You do get her early game though, so she can be good like a shield slash healer for like early game players. However, you can't really build DPS until you have really good defense artifacts. They're just harder to farm than normal artifacts because you not only need to stack defense, but also crit stats and attack stats even, because it's only like one ability that scales off defense. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend building Noelle like if you're an early game player, unless you really like her playstyle. But yeah, I think she's gonna be going in B tier. She just doesn't really compete with the likes of like Keqing or any of the other DPS characters that are gonna be going in A tier. Okay, next up we have Qiqi. I'm going to be putting Qiqi in C tier, same as Barbra. They're just both healers, and healers aren't really as useful anymore. You can sort of do a physical DPS with Qiqi, but everyone knows that physical DPS Qiqi is kind of copium, so I'm just going to put that out here that she's C tier, and that's the tier list that she's in. That's the tier that she's in. Okay, next up we have Razor. I'm going to be putting Razor in B tier. He's actually a very, very strong character. Can provide decent physical damage auto attacks, and when he's in his ult you can just attack faster. I recommend him for like new players that want to learn the game mechanics and just get better, but I wouldn't really put him higher since he is a 4-star DPS and doesn't really compare to the other DPS characters in the game. Okay, next up we have Sucrose. I'm going to be putting Sucrose in A+ tier. This may come as a shock to some people, but she's actually very, very underrated and actually very useful to her team. She's not only Anemo, so she has Burst and Shred and good sword damage, but she also provides decent crowd control with her ultimate and skill, but she can also provide a decent EM transfer to your teammates as well. So if you're looking for like a big damage like sort of showcase, you'll almost always see a Sucrose or like a Monolith, just because they provide so much more damage for your team. And definitely recommend you build Sucrose if you haven't built Sucrose yet. Next up we have Childe. I'm going to be putting Childe in A+ tier. He's actually a really, really good enabler. Can enable support such as Xiangling and Fischl to do insane damage, and he can spam reactions such as Electro Charge and Vaporize with his auto attacks. It could be a decent DPS on his own. However, his cooldown can be like problematic if you're trying to run him as a pure main DPS. But as long as you learn how to manage it, then he's fine. And definitely a very, very strong character and underlooked, since most people will see he's only really useful at C6, which is actually cap. He's good at C0, guys. Next up we have Venti. I'm going to be putting Venti in S tier. This may come as a shock since not many floors of the Abyss have needed Venti lately, but he's still really OP just because of his element. Like, he provides huge amounts of swell damage. It can also be like a sort of just huge like buffer for your teammates. Like if you do a pyro swell, then that just gives huge reaction potential for people like Ganyu or any like DPS that benefits from that. So I do putting him in S tier. Very, very strong character. Still like meta defining for sure. And yeah, next up we have Xiangling. I'm putting Xiangling in S tier. She's been buffed a lot recently, so like stealth buff sort of, because of like the new weapon and artifact set that came out for her, the catch, which is really good on her, and Emblem of Severed Fate, which is really good on her. She can provide really, really huge damage with her ultimate, good like sub DPS potential, and yeah, very, very good character. Next up we have Xiao. I'm putting Xiao in A+ tier. There are a lot of fans out there for Xiao, I know, but I can't put him in S tier just because the characters in S tier have to be sort of like meta defining. I don't really think Xiao is meta defining, but he's still very, very good and can provide huge amounts of AoE Anemo damage, and yeah, very, very good. However, he does sort of need a battery, but every character in A+ basically needs a battery, same as Ayaka. So okay, next up we have Xingqi. I'm putting Xingqi in S tier. He is definitely like one of the best characters in the game in terms of Hydra application. He also can provide damage reduction as well as healing. So Xingqi is like an all-rounder and is very, very good for reactions. And since almost anyone benefits from Hydra application, this tier list is definitely like, as of right now in this tier list, he is definitely S tier. Next up we have Xingyan. I'm putting Xingyan in C tier. I don't really know how to pronounce her name properly. I might have butchered that, but I'm putting her in C tier just because she requires so much more investment than other characters. She's a physical like charge attack DPS. Very, very fun character though. I do recommend if you just want to have like fun, just stack crit damage on Xingyan and go for like an ult huge damage shot. But yeah, just requires so much more investment because of her defense scaling. And yeah, characters like Razor will do much better than her. Okay, I'm going to be putting Zhongli in S tier. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. He's the best character in the game. Can provide a really strong ultimate that provides CC, shred, and yeah, good damage as well. So if you're having a Zhongli on your team, you can't really explain it, but he basically makes your whole team invincible. So that's why he's going to be going in S tier. Okay, next up we have Rosaria. I'm going to be putting Rosaria in A tier. I think she is actually a very underlooked character. She's a good cryo battery, and her ultimate is actually really effective at applying cryo, so has good reaction potential because of that. We paired with a lot of hydro characters to provide freeze, and a lot of pyro characters to provide good melt damage. Next up, when you talk about Eula, I'm putting Eula in A+ tier. She has this sort of like nuke ultimate, and looking at that, she's decent physical DPS, definitely the best physical DPS character in the game. However, it is physical, so the reactions aren't that great, other than Superconduct. But still, very good character, and if you have Eula, I recommend building her, not only because she looks sick, but just because she does really good damage as well. So yeah, next up when you talk about Yanfei, I'm going to be putting Yanfei in B tier. I think she is a decent 4-star DPS, or just because she's a 4-star DPS, she is outclassed by other DPSs. If you look in A tier, she's not really going to be on the same level as Keqing or Ningguang, or however you say Ning's name. She's just going to be going in B tier for now. Very fun character though. She has a good playstyle, and her charge attacks feel sort of satisfying to use. Next up we have Kazuha. I'm going to be putting Kazuha in S tier. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. He's insane, provides really huge damage to our reactions, good crowd control, a very decent shred, good team buffs as well. So he's just going to be going in S tier because he provides the team with so much, and he can also output loads of damage on his own as well. So moving on, we have the next character, Yoimiya. I'm going to be putting Yoimiya in A+ tier. Definitely the second best pyro DPS character. Really good for single target damage. However, her reactions are kind of scuffed because of her like cooldown things. But she's still really strong, and very fun as well. Like the archery playstyle is very fun. Next up we have Sayu. I'm going to be putting Sayu in A tier. She's actually really underlooked. Not many people will run Xiao and just say she's like a Beyblade character who's just made for fun, but despite being fun, she's also a decent character as well that provides a very decent shred for your team, decent swell damage, as well as a heal as well. So very valuable, more valuable than the Anemo Traveller, I'd say. If you don't have an Anemo character, then Sayu is very good. Next up we have the Electro Traveller. I'm putting the Electro Traveller in B tier, same with the Anemo Traveller. I feel like the Electro Traveller gets outshined by a lot of the Electro characters. Since we already have characters like Beidou and like Raiden that can provide good Electro application already, there's not really much of a use for the Electro Traveller right now. However, the constellations are pretty strong, and you can use the Electro Traveller if you don't have someone like Beidou that can provide a bit more than just Electro application. Next up we have Raiden. I'm going to be putting Raiden in A+ tier, or you could call her Bao as well. I'm going to be putting her in A+ tier. Definitely one of the better characters in the game. She's a huge like nuke ultimate, as well as like very high damage normals in her ultimate. Definitely the best fit Electro DPS. Can output very huge damage despite being on a scuffed element. And she's also really good in the national comp as well. And her skill also is really good for like applying Electro. So overall, just a really strong character. I'm definitely going to be putting her in A+ tier for sure. Next up we have Kujou Sara. I'm going to be putting Kujou Sara in A+ tier as well. She provides a very good attack buff similar to Bennet's. Can output decent damage herself as well with her ultimate. And yeah, decent character. She can also provide her team with crit damage if you're running her with like an Electro DPS such as Raiden, and she can provide a decent amount of particles for your team, so yeah. Okay, next up we have Kogami. Wait, this isn't Yomi, it's Kogami. So Kogami, I'm going to be putting, this is the last character on the test by the way, I'm going to be putting her in B tier. She has strong heal, she's basically like a 5-star Barbra, but does decent damage after her ult. That's really all I can say about her. But yeah, unlucky rubber ducky if you go Kogami. Next time, lose the 50-50. And with that said, see you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe. And my voice really hurts now, so bye-bye.